Alright YouTube, so a little while ago I made a review of Arrow Season 1 and 5, so it's only right I do my favorite season, which is Season 2, a review of Arrow Season 2, so let's dive in. So after Season 1, at the finale, Oliver's best friend, Tommy Merlin, makes the noble sacrifice to save Laurel Lance, and this leaves Oliver with a lot of guilt, and he eventually, at the start of Season 2, exiles himself on Lian Yu, which is the island where he became the Arrow on, sort of, or at least his origin story debuts in. Needless to say, that island changed Oliver. Fortunately, at the start of Season 2, Oliver does come back to Star City to be the Arrow and be the hero they need. I absolutely love the flashbacks in Arrow because I thought they were so intriguing, so interesting, so fun to watch, and just overall really connected the story well. And in Season 2, we see a lot of flashbacks with Oliver along with Slade Wilson, who later becomes the big bad of this season, and Sarah Lance, who later becomes the Black Canary of Arrow. So Slade Wilson, who is the big bad of this season, is a totally unbeatable villain and a total beast. And it's funny because the scene where Slade Wilson breaks into Arrow's equivalent of the Batcave and owns Team Arrow, John Diggle, Sarah Lance, and Oliver, of course, is actually the first scene I ever saw of Arrow, of Deathstroke, when he's in that suit and he kicks all their asses. That was definitely an epic scene, and was actually the scene that got me into Arrow, as well as the first scene I ever saw of Arrow, which I know I just said. If you're unfamiliar with this series, I know you must be wondering, why is Slade invincible, such an unbeatable enemy? And the reason for that is because of his steroid-like serum known as Mirakuru. But it doesn't just give him impeccable strength, it makes him super vengeful and really messes with his mind, and is what makes him turn to the dark side pretty much. So I'm sure another thing you guys must be wondering, if you're not familiar with Season 2, is why didn't Slade just kill Oliver off the bat? And the reason for that is because he wants to make him suffer by stripping him of all his loved ones, including his mother, who he later kills when he gives Oliver the choice between his sister Thea and the mother, and his mother makes the sacrifice and wants her children to live, because as a flawed person as Moira Queen was, she definitely loved her children. Which the scene where Slade gives Oliver the choice between the two directly ties into a flashback scene of when Oliver inadvertently gets the love of Slade's life killed between her and Sarah Lance, who later becomes the Black Canary. And that's a long story, but you know, I forgot to mention this at the start of the vlog, but this vlog has gone on a long time in terms of scripting, so definitely stay tuned for a second part, but I'll continue on with this. So after Oliver's mother dies, he goes completely off the grid, and it's really hard to find him, so John Diggle and Felicity Smoke, who are the other two members of the original Team Arrow, go after, well, they go to the Argus agent Amanda Waller, who was in Suicide Squad movies, and she's an impeccable tracker and hacker, so she finds Oliver's location, and John Diggle and Felicity Smoke later get him, and you know, that leads to the finale when Arrow does eventually beat Slade. But believe me, that took a long time. There's a reason why it only happened in the finale, and towards the finale, Arrow does eventually put Slade Wilson in a solitary prison on the same island that Oliver was on. So one of my favorite episodes of this season happens in the Christmas style episode, where a villain who looks identical to Scarecrow has the Mirakuru steroid type serum, and he actually puts it in Roy Harper, who's Arrow's equivalent of Robin, and he almost dies, but Arrow does eventually save him. And the reason Arrow saves him is because one of Scarecrow's henchmen believed he killed Oliver, aka the Arrow, but he didn't, and Arrow does eventually pass out during the fight, but he gets back up as he has a hallucination of Tommy Merlin, who made the sacrifice, and Tommy Merlin essentially motivates him and tells Oliver that he didn't let him die, that Arrow fought to save Tommy, which definitely relieves Oliver of a lot of guilt. So Roy and the Arrow do eventually work together, because Arrow and Oliver are the same guy. Roy does not know that, but Roy is willing to listen to the Arrow because the Arrow did save him in Season 1. And of course that's short-lived, because eventually Roy does learn that the Arrow is Oliver. And the way Roy does learn Oliver is Arrow is because, well, Roy is beating Bronze Tiger, who's portrayed by Michael J. White, who was also in The Dark Knight. He's beating him, and he's not listening to Arrow, so Arrow takes his hood off and shows that he's Oliver Queen. And yeah, Oliver needed Roy's strength to stop an earthquake machine, which was in Season 1, and they rediscovered that device, but fortunately, there is not another undertaking in this season. And yeah, needless to say, Roy, being under the influence of all that Mirakuru, does eventually become a loose cannon, and unfortunately, he ends up getting a police officer killed, and that later leads into Season 3 when he was super guilty about it, because even though he was not in control of his mind, he still felt he was. And I'm going to conclude the vlog here. And like I mentioned mid-section of the vlog, there's so much to talk about Arrow Season 2. It's my favorite season of Arrow by far, and I love the series, and I can't wait to watch it again. So This has been this vlog. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more soon. Goodbye.